It is every parent's worst nightmare to discover that their child has been sexually abused. And it is every wife's worst nightmare to discover that it's her husband who's done the abusing. When I discovered 8 years ago that my husband abused our daughter, I was absolutely, completely unprepared. But I know that there are women watching my videos who are in that very same situation right now, who either just found out about it or who have that sick feeling in their stomach because they suspect it and they're really worried that it's true. Regardless of which one you are, I think there's some important things that you should know. I did not know. I didn't have any kind of guide or list that told me, okay, now do these things and don't do these things. So I had to go at it blindly, mostly. I mean, obviously there's some advice online in, generic stuff, and, there's common sense. And, obviously I utilized that as much as I could, but a lot of it was just guessing. And I got lucky with a lot of it, that the things that I decided to do or the ways that I handled things turned out well in the end. But there were some things I did that I should not have done and that you should not do. So this video is going to focus on what we shouldn't do. And it's only going to focus on a few of them because you can make a list of like 10 things long. But they're kind of redundant, right? Number 1, do not confront the person that you suspect of sexually abusing your child. I know, I'm saying that. And yet, if you know my story, you know that I did confront him, and it turned out well for me, but that doesn't mean that it would in every situation. By telling him, I know what you did and I have to report it, he could have snapped and hurt us, killed us. He could have destroyed evidence. He could have intimidated her. Shoot, he was alone with my sons at the time that I confronted him. He could have taken my sons and disappeared, or put them in danger, or hurt them. He could have fled the country. It actually looks like he was trying to flee the country, or making plans. Fleed? It looks like he was making plans to flee the country, but they arrested him before he could complete that. I remember the detective on our case reminding me, Jackie, desperate people do desperate things. So the things that you don't think, because I think I had said well, I'm not worried. He's not violent. He's not going to come hurt us. And she was like, you don't know that. Did you think he was capable of doing what he did to your daughter? And I said, no. She's like, right. So you don't know what he's capable of, first of all. And second of all, desperate people do wildly desperate things. That was a wake-up call for me. Second, resist the urge to interrogate your child, right? Do not push them for further details. Listen. You could say things like, tell me more about that. How did you feel? Where, maybe even things like, well, where were you? When did this happen? But then your job after that is not to be the investigator. Now, there are people who are trained investigators whose entire job is forensic investigation when it comes to child sexual abuse. You would be astounded at how easily a child's disclosure can get thrown out or be inadmissible in court, or just not be taken seriously because the child was asked leading questions. And what constitutes a leading question is way less than you think it is. So you don't want to tread in those waters and end up messing up possibly the only piece of evidence they may have, which would be your child's disclosure. Now, this one I feel so strongly about, and I think it's so vitally important that we talk about this, because the number of people that have gotten in my comments and talked about this as if it's something that parents should be doing regularly or that doctors should be doing regularly blows my mind, right? So an example, I had someone in my comments say, you should have sued that doctor. They're talking about my pediatrician when I brought up to her, so my daughter was having frequent UTIs, and I said to the pediatrician, sometimes that indicates sexual abuse. Should I be worried about that? And the doctor said, no, it's more likely a structural abnormality. And, we were looking into that, right? So someone said, you should have sued that pediatrician. And I said, why? And they said, because that doctor should have checked her for it the moment you brought it up. And I'm like, do you guys understand what is involved in checking for it? There's not a blood test you can do, right? It is a full-on forensic sexual abuse examination. And let me tell you, That is so invasive. I don't see a child experiencing that and not carrying trauma. Now, in a lot of cases, it's something that you have to do. You're ordered to do it. We were ordered to, once my child disclosed, that was part of the investigation process. Even in totally confirmed cases, it is a small percentage of cases that ever have any physical evidence. And here's why. One, if your child discloses long after anything has happened, then you're not going to see any evidence. Two, children heal fast. So even if there was any kind of bruising or worse, it is likely you're not going to find it. It heals faster than you'd think. But also, it's so important to remember that child sexual assault involves far more than only the things that would be violent and invasive enough to leave physical evidence upon genital examination. Oh, and even more importantly, do not try and conduct those examinations yourself. People say, well, I would see it. I would see the evidence on my child. Why would you? The kind of things you would have to do to check for evidence of sexual abuse is so wildly inappropriate for a parent to do. And can end up getting you accused of child sexual abuse because it is that invasive. It is that invasive. So please do not subject your child to obsessive checks of their genitals. Do not request an invasive examination yourself because you suspect something's happening. I promise you that if they have any way to substantiate the case, DCFS will order that examination anyway. It's not fun. So those are only 3, but they are really important. We'll talk more about a few others, and then we'll talk about what you should do as well.